Okay. Hey, everyone. I am Kate with TypeMatch, and I'm super excited to be here today with Aimee, who is an MBTI YouTuber and coach. She also does typing sessions, and I just think she has some awesome content on her channel and on Instagram. I don't know where else, but especially about cognitive functions. And we've spoken a few times and I've always really enjoyed our conversations. So I'm looking forward to this one. So
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was probably like the best intro, by the way, I've ever had doing an interview.
oh, that's so
Yeah.
great.
I was like, it's so concise. And I was like, oh, yes, I am good at cognitive functions. Yes.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You have your videos. I like they're very straightforward. They're to the point, and you do a really great job of giving practical examples of the cognitive functions so people can understand what it looks like and how to identify it in real life, other than just like keeping it in theory land. So
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate the work you do on that. And actually, you had a post just yesterday or the day before that I saved that I wanted to talk to you about. I know this wasn't on our list,
That was
but
totally fine. Yeah.
you made a post on Instagram that was about SE and NI versus SI and NE, and you gave two words to describe these axes. And I think I understand what you mean in terms of the terms you used, about three of them, but not one. So for SE and NI, you said, I'm engaging because
Yeah.
SE
Yeah. Yeah.
because I know NI. And for SE and NE, SI and NE, you said, I'm entertaining NE because I've verified SI.
Yeah.
So you kept it really simple in the post, and I love this word for SE, engaging. I did a video about like what SE actually is. It's not just the sports function, it's trying to engage.
Yeah.
And could you explain a little bit for people? I understand what you mean by NI knowing, because I think the way that people talk about intuition outside of the MBTI sphere is they're kind of talking about NI, just having like a sense of like, this is going to happen.
Right. Right. Yeah, I agree. It's like they're defining that NI, but then they're not contrasting it with any other function then, because then it leaves the question, okay, so do other functions not do the same thing, or can they not do that? And then it starts to not make sense. I think that's probably the problem with it, because then that would imply that like certain other types do not experience that as well. So I think when it comes to these cognitive functions, I'm still working on this as well, like because I'm not like a high TI user either, or not either, but I'm not a high TI user. So I'm trying to find a concise way to make it so that it's like fail proof. At least that's the process.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like, well, isn't TI knowing? I mean, I'm not
right.
I'm not an NI user, but I know stuff. Like I know all these facts and things.
Yeah.
But
do you understand why you know? I think that becomes the difference. Or from what I'm saying. So with NI, you know, with no reasoning behind it. So there's some things you just know, and you can't really deduce it with reasoning. Whereas when you're understanding something and you're accepting whatever that is as truth, then you can explain that line of reasoning. You're understanding it. And I think that's kind of the difference between NI and TI from my observation. Yeah.
I think what you're talking about is like kind of a gut feeling that people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the people who don't have NI have no gut. That's not true either. So it is complicated. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what I meant in that post is that if you have a feeling of knowing, right, inside of you, even if you can't really explain it, if you have a sense of knowing, you're going to automatically, directly, physically engage with something, with the reality. I mean, because if you know something is going to happen or not going to happen, your actions are going to obviously counter it or go along with it because you know it's natural. Now, for those that do not have NI, for those that don't have that directionality, or at least they don't value it as much, they're not going to SE act because they don't know. There's that element of you're still entertaining the possibility that this may not happen. So what are you doing then? You're going to verify it first as a way of verify it physically for yourself as a knowledge. Yeah.
Now that was the word that I got stuck on, verify, because I've often used that word and heard it associated with TI. So what do you mean when you're saying verify?
I think verify equals or implies physical. So if you are verifying something, you are double checking it with something physical, whether it could be like a past experience, a memory, I don't know, like a rule book. It's something physical that you can tangibly say, I have verified that this is the case. Whereas I don't know with TI if there's a need to verify because the subject believes it to be true, or the subject has deduced it to be true. So it's not necessarily like something they have to compare it against, I guess.
I would say TI compares it to like, okay, if this is true, then that would mean that this is not true. And
right.
I know that that is true. So that must mean that this is not true. So it's like that type of internal verification process, but it's not in the physical world. I think maybe a good word is like verifying evidence around you.
Okay. Evidence around you as in the environment?
Yeah. Like physical
for
evidence.
TI. Oh, for SI, for SI.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Right. So not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be in your environment, but any kind of a tangible verification. So I guess like the mixture of TI-SI. So for the INTPs or the ENTPs, for example, maybe that's more the case. But then you have people like the ESTPs, ISTPs who don't necessarily just use their TI for ideation. So in that sense, they don't necessarily need to verify that TI logical structure with anything that has to relate to the past or any kind of they don't need to do a verification, right? Aren't they just breaking apart the reality that's in front of them?
I mean,
these are really heavy TI things.
These
Kate.
are. I love that we just got right into it and going like a deep dive. I mostly use my TI to break down arguments. Like I've said in the past, like I prefer to destroy somebody else's argument than to make my own.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
And so it's I decide what the best argument is by which one I cannot destroy. And then that's
got it. Okay. Okay. So I think, okay, so that's a really good example, I think, of there's an element of SE in there, even with NI. It's the idea that I think with ESTP's debate, it's rather forceful. It's kind of impactful because they're not looking to, it's not like an ideation possibly like the ENTP. I think that ENTPs and INTPs, they tend to have that NE. So they never give up that like angle that they're trying to take. There's just like numerous perspectives and angles that they can take. So it's not necessarily about destroying it. It's actually about verifying it, comparing it to something. And they're kind of double checking the feedback. Whereas with SE types, I mean, even for the ESFP who doesn't have TI, right? It's like, they're not necessarily looking for like ideation. It's kind of like that direct, they're looking for that one direct, impactful argument. Ideally. Yeah,
the one.
Yeah. We're not looking to like talk for like hours and like, you know, it's just like, we're trying to find that one thing. And it gets really intense when you're talking with like an ISTP or an ESTP.
It goes really quickly. Like somebody will present something, I'm like, well, if that was true, then this would be true, and it's not. So like
it's a very solid structure. Yeah, it's an impactful one.
I think structure is a key word. I think it's testing the structure of it. Yeah.
So I think this goes into the perceiving axis as well, with NE. So they're just focused on possibly the entertaining aspect of it. And this is why they need SI though, because they do need to verify or with something physical to be able to compare it and entertain all the possibilities and make sure that's it's foolproof. But the way they go about it is by entertaining and verifying, entertaining and verifying. So it's almost like there's never an NI conclusion. There's no NI concision involved. There's no NI knowing, basically.
Yeah.
There's no there's not as much direction as the SENI axis from what I'm observing.
Okay, so would you say that they would conclude with, I guess, well, we are not going to know?
I actually think that, yeah, I think that the combination of NETI is more prone to, for example, like existential crisis, because it's the idea that they just never know. Like, it's just like, I dig deep and dig, you know, and I just still don't know why we exist. You know, it's just, there is this never ending search. And I will say people with SETI do this as well. I'm sure they've experienced that to a certain extent, but I wonder if it's more like eventually they kind of need to get out there and just, you know, experience the reality or directly engage with it. They're looking for some kind of a conclusion.
I would say I have never troubled myself with why we exist. I have thought about a lot about the topics of meaning and significance and how to find that within my own life. But it doesn't matter to me at all for like all of humanity, what our meaning is, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I think that it's because if you know, and again, not with reasoning, but you know, then you're going to find the necessity to directly engage.
Yes.
It comes naturally.
Yeah.
Whereas with NESI, they never know. So it's this like endless search of just verification. Maybe it's just not even, maybe they won't ever know. And maybe that's okay to them. I mean, I can't imagine that, because for me, it's just kind of like, if I'm going to do that, I need some kind of a conclusion. I need it to do something, but maybe that's not the point. You know, maybe it's really just exploratory for them.
Yeah. I think that is especially true with the NI blind, ESFJ and ESTJ. And I actually had an argument with a therapist over this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's an ESFJ, and I was worried about this future possibility that I see as like an imminent reality. And she kept trying to say, well, but you don't know that that's going to happen. And I'm like, but I do. Like, I do know. I see it. I see that it's coming. And she's like, well, you never know what's going to happen in life, so you can't just worry about it. And I'm like, right. I never wanted to go back to her because that frustrated me so much.
It's a different way of communication. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I do see, I made a post about this. Well, I wrote it, but I didn't post it yet. A blog post today about how our blind function really gives us freedom in a different aspect, and how we can turn it into a strength, because like what you're blind to gives you freedom to do your parent function is my theory on that.
I agree. I definitely agree, because if you're absolutely weak in something, I mean, this is outside of typology, but if you're absolutely weak in something, then to a certain extent, it may actually be a strength in another way. So, I mean, when we have something like typology where you can see the tool for it, or the structure of it, I can definitely see that. If you're blind in one thing, it's because you're really good at something else that actually makes you really strong at that, or makes your character.
Yeah, it allows for total expression of this other trait that you have.
Yeah. Yep.
So It's funny, I came up with this because I've heard some people recently, like unknowingly, like just, random YouTubers not talking about MBTI, kind of bragging about how they don't need their polar function. And it's like,
Ah,
it's so funny to me. It's like, throw it out, don't even need it, don't know why anybody's doing that. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, oh, you don't realize it, but you've turned it into like a strength, your weakness.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, yeah.
So that's really cool. But anyway,
Hmm.
yeah, I wanted to also get into FI versus TI with you because like it's something we always talked about. And in our last conversation that was like months ago, you said something that was so interesting to me about FI. And I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was basically how FI, like TI, is binary, but in a different way.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you're saying. So I will say that it's different because with FI, you can't really exactly point at it. That's the difference. With TI, there should be some kind of a framework. And in fact, I actually don't like the usage that MBTI uses, that FI is some kind of a framework. Because by
Okay.
applying a framework that makes it TI, you're basically deliberating it logically with this
Yeah.
framework. Whereas with FI, to the FI subject, it doesn't feel like a framework of values. In the
Mm,
moment, you can't really point at what exactly you like or dislike about the thing or your attitude towards the object. You can't really define it. So to go back, maybe I made a mistake by explaining or implying that it was binary.
I don't think you called it binary.
Okay,
I
okay.
think
Got
I
it.
did. You said something and I was like, oh, okay. So
Okay.
for me, it's like, oh, that's ones and zeros, that if you value this thing, that means that you don't value this thing.
I see how you're understanding it. Got it. Yeah. So to the subject, it doesn't feel like that. Right. And
Really?
so this is why I was saying that
Okay.
with FI, I disagree with the MBTI definition of it being a value-based framework, because that's what MBTI does describe FI to be. Uh,
Yes.
because to the subject, it doesn't feel like a framework. Like today, I like this thing, but tomorrow I may not. That's because there's no framework.
Okay.
It really isn't. It's just in the moment. Okay. So if you talk to somebody who's TI polar, right,
Hmm.
what you'll see is somebody who today, or maybe somebody with low TI in general, maybe you'll see somebody who's like, oh my God, like this bitch is this, da, 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 da. Today, tomorrow, completely fine. Tomorrow, they're best friends because there's no reasoning involved in it for why this person does not like
Right.
or does like a person. It's just kind of like a in the moment situational deliberation that they're going through.
Is it only in the moment for SE users?
Well, so yeah,
I
that's true.
see
I guess.
FI as being more consistent.
Well, you would think so, but the thing is, because there's no framework to the TI user, you'll see the inconsistency, because I think TI is more about sticking to your principles. So if you say you don't like something, there must be a reason behind it. There must be some kind of an underlying principle for why you don't like that thing, or that's what's expected at least. But maybe for FI, because they're not operating like that logically, what
Hmm.
you'll notice is that flow. It's a little bit more according to the situation
Okay.
of what you value and what you don't value. It's like this idea that truth is a work in progress.
Hmm.
And depending upon your deliberations and, maybe through acquired knowledge, you'll start to learn maybe what you like and don't like consistently, but it's
Hmm.
still not going to be as solid as a TI way.
Okay. I understand in part, and in part I do not.
Okay.
I under so I understand that there is no underlying reasoning behind it,
Mhm.
but the way I have observed FI, and I do understand, and I have seen that it's like, it's not always like, I don't always love this, like,
Yeah.
tomorrow I may be off of it, and that's what it is.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
I do see an underlying value system that's
Mhm.
permeating the likes.
Yeah,
And so that's
I totally agree. Yeah.
framework. Okay.
To the TI person, but I think it's because to TI, they're looking for that. That's what they're paying attention to with their cognitive function. Yeah. You're paying attention to, there must be some kind of a framework or structure to this. But what you'll frequently notice is that when you're hanging out with the FI type, you realize the structure is really on and off, honestly. And to them, it doesn't feel like there is some kind of a structure. The way the subject is experiencing it is not really a structure. But maybe if they start talking to somebody else, maybe like yourself, who has a little bit more TI, they can realize like, okay, so this is the reason why I feel this way towards this object. But in the moment, it's hard to point out, boom, like that's exactly why I don't like that thing, and be consistent with that reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you take a look at somebody who's dominant FI, for example, so they have TE lower in their stack, what they have a problem with TE inferior is that they have a problem producing results or actually being effective. And the reason for that is because their whole life is predicated upon whether they like to do it or whether they do not. So today I feel like working, tomorrow I don't. And then what that leads to is just lack of the TE part, which is to just do the thing or to produce some kind of a result. That's an extreme example of an FI DOM. I'm not saying that all FI DOMs are like that, but I think in FI users, you'll kind of see that element where it's really just dependent upon what they're deliberating on in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. What I see with FI users is that I can see that their likes are often connected to each other. And maybe this is again that I'm looking at it. And I love to think about FI, and I love having you here in front of me for me to like try to understand it, because I do spend so much time trying to understand this perspective that's opposite to my own and understand my blind spot. And I know I'm not going to be able to do it, but like I really want to grasp it firmly. So I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself here.
No, not at all. FI in general is a really hard. I actually would argue that FI is the harder function to define, more so than NI. FI is just so abstract.
They don't like to define things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, what type of music do you like? Well, I don't really like to define it. And I'm
like, And today I like this, and tomorrow I may like that, and that's that.
I don't want to label it like it. That would be limiting.
Yeah. I will say, I think FINE tends to have more so of that tendency of not wanting to label things, I think. I wonder if SE types, so like the ISFPs may be a little bit more adamant at it, but even then, again, because it's not reason-based, it's probably NI-based. I still don't think there's that structure that TI is looking for.
I know. It's funny. I'm trying to look for it because I see it. But, our perceptions of the cognitive functions that we don't have are so different than the person who is experiencing it, which is why the Myers-Briggs descriptions are so skewed for SE users, because they were written from the perspective of an INFP who does not have SE. And so we're experiencing SE as totally different than she has described it. And it's like, well, I must not be an SE user because this ain't it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that could be said about other systems too. I think in type, most systems are created by intuitive. So I think it's like the consensus is that nobody really knows what SE is, or at least from firsthand experience. Yeah.
How do you think that high FI users view TI? I know you've done a lot of study on it, so you have like a decent perspective on it, but I wonder for like the outsider, because I'm trying to TI put together FI and you can't. I wonder if they are FI trying to put together TI in the same way.
I would say, so both FI and TI deliberate for sure. Okay, so they both deliberate, but they do it differently. So for the FI type, a lot of the times they think that they're TI types because of that deliberation. But when they see, or when they talk to another TI type and the way they deliberate, I think that's when they see the difference. But they look rather similar on the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like their whole life is, I don't want to use the word subjective, but it is an internal process that they're both going through, an internal judging process. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard to understand it externally.
Yeah,
Explain the
exactly.
process externally. It's like explaining, if somebody asks you, how do you think? It's like, I don't know. I just think like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would totally agree with those introverted functions. I can't really explain it, but I guess I can talk to you about my experiences with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can, MBTI has given me the vocabulary to speak about my internal processes, but without that, I wouldn't have been able to.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. So I thought of another question for you that wasn't on the original list either. Do you get a lot of people saying that like, oh, well, you must be a very like NI developed ESFP?
I mean, I get people telling me like all sorts of things, honestly. So it's like they'll tell me all sorts of things. But yes, I do get comments that say, yeah, you're an ESFP with really high NI. I'll also get that for an ESFP, I probably have high TI as well, for an ESFP anyway. Yeah, I get comments like that all the time.
Do you think that you actually have highly developed NI, or is this like a sensor bias thing? Because I get it a lot and I'm like, in part, thank you. That's really nice of you to call me highly developed. But in the other part, I'm like, are you just saying this to confirm your own biases about like NI being the superior function, and you can't believe that I am interested in this subject at all and can articulate thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I don't think people understand that with SE does come NI. So, I mean, you can say you have highly developed NI, but you'll never sacrifice the SE aspect of it, which is to look at the thing that's in front of you or focus on the object in front of you. So yeah, I mean, I've had that comment definitely as well, that I have really high NI, but I don't really know how to make of it because I don't know what that means. It's kind of like, actually, it's like what you said. I don't know what that means when people say I have really high NI. It's like, so does that mean for an ESFP, I'm too intuitive to be one, so therefore ESFPs are not, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of deciphering that too.
Yeah,
just like, okay.
It's like I don't know if that's a compliment with like a little bit
of
yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. I'm not quite sure either. So I'm like,
it's kind of like saying like, oh, you're really smart for a feeler, like, oh, you're really intuitive for a sensor. Like,
I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. Okay. Yeah, I think what people don't understand, like I said, is that SE does come with NI. So for example, when you're like, why are ESFPs or ESTPs, why are they stereotypically good at physical things, right? Or creating impact, even if it's not maybe physical. Why are they so good at that? It's because they do have NE somewhere down there in their stack to see all the possible options. It's just done unconsciously. So it's all there. But out of all of those, we're picking the one, because we do have NI, and we're focusing on that thing to create the most physical sensation or impact. So it comes together, right? So you can't really say like that ESFPs don't have NI, because then that would just disrupt the nature of SE. Yeah, exactly. That'll just be NE, which is to just sporadically aim at everywhere. Yeah. So I think that's what people are not understanding, is that if you have an inferior function, it doesn't mean that that function is super bad or it just doesn't work. It just means that's probably not your main focus of attention, but you need that to do the SE thing. Yeah. Yeah. I frustratingly had a conversation with someone the other day who was saying like, these functions, like these 3 functions are just like worthless. And I'm like,
these other functions that you think are worth something literally cannot exist without these other ones. Like you want yang without the yin to exist, and it cannot. So they
yeah, that
have
is weird.
to offset each other.
Is this like an MBTI YouTuber, or is it like
No,
you were just having a discussion? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
But
yeah,
it's frustrating.
So you're saying that you disagree with that, so you agree that there does have to be the usage of both, or not both at the same time, obviously, but you need the balance. Yeah,
with each other.
Yeah, of course.
And I can't imagine what would happen if somebody didn't have usage of their inferior function at all.
Right. Well, that will go against, I think if we go back to the core of Carl Jung's work, that would go against that, because the whole idea is that everything works in oppositional forces. So if we have an introverted function, we have an extroverted function. If we have thinking, we have feeling, sensing, intuition. That's where the psychological opposites are coming from. So to say that you don't have one is not consistent with the
other.
Right, exactly.
It cannot act without its acts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So are we sensors that have highly developed NI?
No, I think we're just
have NI.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like. No, we're sensors. Like, that's what it means, is that we're sensors with intuition, because that's what makes all human beings in general, is that we need both. Yeah.
And what you said about being able to see the NE possibilities, that's something that I get really frustrated with, people having a perception that like I can't see the other possibilities. It's just that like, I am greatly devaluing all of them. And when people bring up a lot of different possibilities to me, it's like, yeah, I thought of that, but it's unimportant. So
right, it's exactly, I'm trying to do the thing that's gonna create the biggest influence, not explore with every single one.
It's not practically actionable right now. So to me, just like, it doesn't matter. But I do see it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I think that, of course to you, but I think that there's a perception that like we can't see NE at all.
Right. Yeah, I get the same. It goes for the other functions too, right? It's like, like for everybody, it's like, oh, you have way too much TI for a FE DOM. It's like, well, yeah, because the FE DOM needs TI in order to relate to other people. Like it literally just comes with a package. It's not like somebody just has it super high. I think we should stay away from that understanding that our inferior function just doesn't exist, or should not exist, because it does by theory exist. It is there, and it has a major influence on our personality, even though it may not feel like it to the subject though.
Do you think that people have to work at developing their inferior function? Or that it's always there working in conjunction?
It's always working, but I think that we can pay attention to it more in order to do what your dominant function loves to do. You need to almost like, in order for your dominant function to work effectively, you do need to improve, or at least pay attention to, your inferior function. You know, so if we took away NI and only looked at SE, the SE type would just be like conflicting with every single thing and engaging with every single little thing, right? And with no bigger picture orientation. So eventually the SE DOMs need to reflect and be like, where are you going in life? What are you doing all this for? And once you figure that out, you can actually do SE in a more influential manner. Yeah, that's what the inferior function is there for everybody though. And I don't think people quite understand that. Yeah.
So would you say then that the inferior function adds significance to your action?
Right. Yes, it does. And in fact, I think in John Beebe's work, he does call it the gateway to the unconscious. Now, I don't necessarily agree with like the C.S. Joseph's interpretation of it, like the 4 sides of the mind thing, that we can just like, you know, change personality types, not really. But I do believe that I understand that. I think maybe Beebe meant it as like, I don't think he meant that literally. Like, I don't think he meant that. Like, I think the idea was that, by tapping into that inferior function, it's a gateway to the part of us that we aspire to be. And I think that was supposed to be like an inspirational thing, not to be taken like literally that you turn into a INFJ or I turn into an INTJ. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that you can look like that to others though?
Yeah, I think you can, but I don't know that that's what it feels like to the subject, really.
I don't think it does either. I think it looks like that from an outside perspective, though. Like, oh, you're so INFJ-ish. Yeah, I've been told lots of times, like, oh, you must be an INFJ-focused ESTP. And again, that feels like a little slight.
Yeah.
Like, you're so cool.
Yeah.
You must be like an INFJ. Like,
I'll get that too. Actually. Like, they'll be like, wow, like she really tapped into her INTJ subconscious there. I'm like,
yeah. No,
so what does that mean? Like,
you're an ESFP. Like,
yeah, I was like, okay, cool. So today I'm an intelligent like ESFP, like an INTJ.
Yeah, that's so mean.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, cool.
In what ways would you say, like, do you think that you do aspire through the INTJ aspect? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I wouldn't call it like being an INTJ, but I think there comes a point in my life where eventually I need to stop focusing on what's in front of me and see the broader implications of where this is heading to. I definitely think that I need to improve on that, because I do tend to, I'm really good at kind of like pushing things forward, yes, but you kind of have to zoom out a little bit and be like, okay, but where is this going? And that I definitely need to take time to just like sit still and reflect. It's okay to just like sit still. And I have a hard time doing that, or I feel bad that I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Mood.
Yeah. I don't know why. I never realized this about myself as a person until I like really like reflected. And I was like, how come I can't just be by myself and just shut off the world and just like reflect? How come I can't do that? I always feel the need to be like, okay, yeah, but anyway, I gotta get to this, I gotta get to this, I have to do this thing here, or I have to talk to this person. I'm like, just stop, like chill.
In reflecting, do you mean to like reflect on the past?
No. Just to, actually, that's a good distinction. I think I would say reflect on who I am as a person, or for me anyway. But I guess reflection was more of a general term to just stop and for me to get inside my mind a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know that this is the same for the ESTP because they're a thinking type, but for me, it's kind of just getting inside the self a little bit. So it could be even feeling, it could be intuitive things as well. It could even be my thinking, but just to get in touch with those introverted functions a little bit more.
Yeah. I don't understand how to very well connect with yourself. Seems like a very intuitive concept. And it's one that I've never really grasped of like what people mean when they're like, I just connected with myself. But I think that I do it.
I think so too. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just not something you stop and do, but you are doing it subconsciously. Yeah.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time in my head, and my time, I guess my time for self-reflection is in the gym, and after the gym especially is a really powerful thinking time for me. And I come up with my best insights in that time, but notice it comes after the physical do. And to the point where like I have to tire myself. And then once I am physically tired, I am allowed the time to sit.
Interesting. That's a good. Yeah. Okay. So you are reflecting, but you're saying that you're doing it after you do something physical anyway. And even then it's not much of a priority to like just do that for its own
No,
sake. Yeah.
no. It's not like
Mhm.
part of my daily routine. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I have watched a lot of people make like these daily routine lists or
Yeah.
videos or whatever, and those are so interesting to me. But a lot of them include like first thing in the morning, I meditate, and I'm like, I could never. I'm not like wake up and like I'll just fall back asleep. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's time for action. Like,
Right. No, I totally get it. And actually, after you said that, what you said when you were like working out and stuff, I was kind of thinking like, I guess I don't really have a stop and reflect time. Like I really just don't um do it, I guess. Because even when I thought of me reflecting on things, I was like, well, you're not though, because you're still like watching a YouTube video, or you're still reading, or you're still not really
oh yeah,
doing anything.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm still working out, but it's
Yeah.
like in between sets.
Yeah.
Like, I can reflect.
Where's my life going? Like,
Yeah. Or like in the car on the way home, but I'm
yeah.
driving. So like I'm like, no, let's turn off the podcast and think for a minute. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's
but
the
it
same for
is
me. I'm
during,
listening to a podcast. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Uh, do you find that like I remember in your like one of your videos about coming out as an ESFP, you're like, oh, but I have all these insights, and you're like, but okay, if I'm honest with myself, it comes from like all the content that I'm listening to.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, that's massive. I'm always
Mm.
taking in so much content from people who are extremely insightful, and then I'm able to build upon those insights and have my own insights.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I would also say the good thing about being an SE Dom is that you probably have gone through a lot of physical experiences, so that almost subconsciously makes you an insightful person. You know, I mean, if you are seeing the world through your eyes all the time, right, and you're like pushing yourself, you're challenging yourself all the time, I think it's natural for you, whether you realize it or not, to actually be a pretty deep person. You just don't like realize it or pay attention to it.
I think I realize I'm deep.
Okay. Good. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Just probably because I've gotten feedback. I don't like the word deep,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I've gotten people that have like spoken to me about like the types of conversations that we've had, and that it's been, you know, impactful for them. So, but yeah, it has come from physical like experience in my life. And I do put myself in those situations, but I'm often frustrated that I have to go through the experience to learn the lesson.
Right, right. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like I think that SI is usually the function that gets associated with like learning from the past, but I don't think it's true, because I think that everybody to a certain extent remembers things. It makes no sense to say that if you think of a past experience, you must be an SI type, because I think that's something everybody does, honestly.
Yeah.
So that alone does make sense. But I will say, yeah, like the SE type will have a lot of physical hands-on experiences, just naturally, more so than the average type. So of course, they're gonna be insightful. Learning from it, maybe not. Maybe like they have the habit of probably jumping into things too much or too early. But even then, there's going to be that insight that's born. I used to think that SI types are the only types that learn from the past, which something about that didn't really make sense to me. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, what? So like NISE types are just like these people that never learn from their past. But when I actually spoke to a few ESJs in my typing sessions, I finally understood what that means to learn from past experiences, and or not past experiences, but hands-on experiences. And I was like, so to the SE type, yes, they engage with things, right, physically on their own. And then the NI insight comes about that this is what it meant. Or this is it's a realization that hits them. Whereas the SI type, so people that are actually anti-polar, these types, they actually remember the past experiences. You know, they have a whole catalog of it in their head. But as it relates to knowing exactly what's wrong with that situation, like pinpointing it, that's where they actually struggle with. So their whole thing is reflect on the past and then try to make it better with extroverted intuition. So there's this need to like, in socionics, the NI polar types tend to want to be perfect. And I don't agree with like that literally, but if you think about it, it's this idea that they experience something in the past. And then with their extroverted intuition, it's not about knowing, it's about entertaining. So they reflect on it and then they're like, oh, well, you know, maybe it was actually because of this. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's that. And then they actually have that cycle where they can't pinpoint what exactly was wrong with that past experience. It's a huge differentiation to make in these two types.
Oh my
NI
God.
polar types and NI inferior.
I feel so bad for them now.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds like that could get them caught in unhealthy relationship cycles because they don't know what is the thing that is causing the repeated problem.
Yeah. I mean, this is
every
what
relationship is different, but there is a linking factor. Like,
like I was like, that was like my first, when I did these typing sessions, that was like one of the biggest like aha moments I had. Because this entire time I'm thinking, okay, well, if you reference the past, I have to type you an SJ. And then I realized I'm like, no, there's something different. There's something that's just not like quite clicking with this. And I realized that was the difference. It's the NI is the ability to, it's an insightful function. It's a mental imagery that one gets. It's a metaphysical function that one gets after these experiences. Whereas with SI and E, there's never a knowing mental imagery unless it relates directly to that past experience. And even when they pull that out, it's just like, well, I mean, I can try it this way instead. I want to try it this way and I want to try it this way. Yeah. So this leads to like, I mean, the stereotypical ESFJ, let's say, who, you know, they kind of get into that habit of going into the bad relationships over and over. Everybody sees the red flags, and this ESFJ is just like, no, but this time it'll be different. I mean, of course, this is a stereotype. Not all ESFJs are like that. Yeah, but now you kind of understand. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen that pattern, but I didn't know what exactly it was.
Right.
And to be honest, I attributed it to like the TI inferior.
Yeah, that is that combination too. Yeah.
Not wanting to put it together. Or just being reluctant to put it together. Yeah.
Which is different from NI inferior, I think, because it's like, at least with NI inferior, you kind of aspire to be better at that at one point. You know that's a weakness of yours. So you're actually a little bit more hesitant, or at least aware that this may not be the best choice for you.
Yeah, I wanna reflect on SI a bit. And what you said, I think it's right. I think I haven't had trouble with identifying SI when I hear it. I know it, but I have trouble describing it. And like in describing what I am hearing, and you know, and it comes off as like kind of this abstract description that is difficult for people to pin down for themselves, because when I hear SI talk about the past, it's different than how an SE user talks about the past. In that they create like a box that the experience is in, and then they wrap it all up, and that one is stored. Whereas I feel like the SE user is just keeping it open. And I had a realization about the types of movies that I like. I prefer series over movies. And I don't like movies because they package it up and it's over. And to me, that's both unrealistic and distressing. So I will often, if I've watched a movie and I liked it and I want to rewatch it, I won't watch the end again. I'll watch like half of it or 3/4 of it. But then when they're getting to like we're going to wrap it all up, I abandon ship. And I've never watched the last episode of any series because it's all wrapping up. And I think that gives an SI user comfort, but for me, it's distressing. It feels like the thing has died.
Yeah. So And which is different from a series because the series continues it, or you
Yes,
feel a
and
sense of holisticness, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, a sense of
Yeah.
continuation, like life.
Yeah. Mm-mm-mm.
Because I'm like, these people's lives aren't over after this event. So why are
Right.
we pretending like it stopped?
That's true. That's so true.
And the other day, my
Yeah.
boyfriend wanted to watch a movie and we had two options. And he's like, okay, well, do you want one that has a very loose storyline or one that has a good storyline? I'm like, I'll choose the very loose one. Thank you, because that feels more real to me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
loved it. It was Grandma's Boy, which is so stupid of a movie, but
I'm gonna keep that I'm gonna keep that in mind.
it's
Okay.
like
Grandma's
it's a
Boy.
dumb stoner film, but
You don't actually like stoner films. It's really
me
weird.
too.
Like, yeah, I don't know
Me
why.
too. I'm not a stoner.
No,
I
not
don't like
me
them,
either.
but I like very, very serious films or like
Mhm.
completely stupid, like You Don't Mess with the Zohan, you know?
Yeah. Actually, I haven't seen that movie, but I know what you're talking about. That's interesting. Yeah, I tend to like heist shows. Or like I think it's actually the idea that they're going for something. I
Ah,
think that's what I'm liking in the series or
they've got a
movie that I'm
goal.
watching. Yeah, it's not like this like abstract thing where I have to like Google what the hell was that or like
Yeah,
yeah, so interesting. Huh. Yeah, just like
yeah.
reflecting.
Yeah, I'd
It,
like to
it
look more into the types of movies and series that different types like. Because if you ask somebody, well, why did you like it? They usually can't tell you. But again, I'm trying to look for the underlying structure of it.
yeah. True. I've noticed that like SJs, maybe it's an SFJ thing in particular. They tend to find comfort in Disney movies.
Mm,
I
yeah.
don't know if it's that like lower NE thing where it kind of gives them like it's like a nice like break. It's something. It's just a pattern I've come to notice.
Okay. Do you think Disney movies are quite sentimental, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's true. Okay, that too. Yeah, it's sentimental and it kind of like maybe gives them a break from their like day-to-day thing, I guess, because I think maybe it's possible that SJs tend to get into that world of just like living day by day and maintaining. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, yeah, you saying maintaining. I love that word for SI.
It
That
is
is
it's
that's a
yeah.
perfect word.
Yeah, I got that because you were talking about how SI was kind of harder to nail a little bit in a person. When you hear it. But I look at my husband all the time, who's an SJ or he's an ISFJ, and there's definitely that's all he does every day. And people think like SI is just about like like maintaining the house kind of stuff, but it's not that way. It's like everything that he does is a reference to the past. Everything you don't even realize that he's doing it. For example, like um, even the way his body feels. He'll wake up, and the first thing that he does is he like checks that his body feels okay, or like
Really?
it's really interesting. Yeah. So okay,
Huh.
like it's a huge difference. Okay, because like the first thing I do is freaking get up and get ready, and then like I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I got to typing session, and I'm like mobilized. But him, it's like I need to stretch. I need to work out. I need to like. There's this like thing that he's going through in his mind that I can't tell. It's specific to him, but that's what he's doing in his head, I guess, all the time. Is like, does this feel right? Is this comfortable? Is this, yeah. He's like
Okay.
maintaining all the time.
Yeah. Well, then getting older must be very distressing.
Or maybe more comfortable for them because they prepared it their whole life.
They prepared
Like
for
they'll
it.
be able to, yeah, like they'll be able to realize that they're getting or their body's changing.
And so
Like,
are they taking action on that, or are they just like
yeah,
reintegrating it?
well, so to bring this back to full cycle with the idea of entertaining and verifying,
Mhm.
if they're always entertaining the multiple possibilities of things that could happen, such as like getting old and all that crap. So I'm not crap, but all those abstract possibilities. So what they're doing every day is verifying in the physical. If
Ah,
am I prepared for that?
Oh,
like,
okay. So would you say that they are more comfortable with their mortality?
I wouldn't say comfortable. I would say they think about it more.
Yeah.
Like they reflect on those types of like, yeah, not necessarily like when am I gonna die, but like I think it goes back to the existential crisis, but of like, like who am I? What is this life for? Like what is my purpose? And what is that? It's like this constant figuring out of the possibilities of what's
Well,
gonna happen to them or the world.
it's a different orientation with time. It seems like you're being
Yeah, yeah,
mindful of time.
yeah.
And I do not like to be mindful of time passing.
Right, right.
Yeah. And like reminders of that can be distressing. Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
interesting. I typed sometimes I type cultures because
That's
there
fun.
is like
Yeah.
a national character, and I typed Mexico as an SFJ culture, and they do have a very good tie to like reflecting on the past and mortality, and not as like a negative thing.
In socionics, I think they're also, yeah, you're right. Very alpha quadra.
I don't know the socionics quadros by heart yet.
Yeah, no, what you just said was kind of similar to the alpha quadra life of which makes sense why you would type them in ISFJ.
Oh,
They're
okay.
very fun loving people, like very merry,
Yeah.
fun loving, very um democratic, not literally, but just in the sense that they're very inclusive and
Mhm.
they're yeah, they enjoy these get-togethers and the day-to-days and the yeah.
All of us all together at the end of
Right.
work, we're all getting together and sharing a meal or
Mm-hmm.
dancing, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, definitely SFJ culture. And that ties into a question I wanted to ask you about. What do you think people get wrong about ISFJs?
That they're uh that they're boring.
Mm,
I mean, this is a very common thing. It's like they think
yeah.
that like SFJ just like spend all day scheduling and routines and all this stuff. That's not the case at all. In fact, they have inferior NE, so they're quite imaginative people. Uh, they're they're very fun. I think they're very entertaining. I think NE is usually the function that's associated with entertainment, specifically NEFE, I should say. And the ISFJ is very entertaining. It's just they need to be with people they're comfortable with, but
Yeah.
once they are, they're very like fun, very probably more fun to be honest with them like the SENI types, to be honest. But
Yeah.
yeah, because SENI types ultimately it's like we got to like do something, or the conversation needs to go somewhere, or there's always this like end purpose usually.
Mhm.
Whereas with NE, just never ending fun. It's just like, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's definitely something that they get wrong about ISFJs.
Yeah, I think that that applies to ISTJs as well. It really
Ah, yep,
sucks that
yep.
SI DOMs got saddled with the term boring. It's not true.
Yeah, yeah. I have that all the time. I have to like when I do typing sessions, I always like hesitate when I have to type somebody at SJ.
Hmm.
Not because I'm not certain in my conclusion. It's just that, to be honest, nobody goes to these typing sessions wanting to be typed a sensing type in general.
Yeah.
So and they always they say the same thing. If the consensus is similar, that it's like, but I don't like routine though. I love experiencing. I love doing new things. And it's like, yeah, because any is the function of new.
Mhm.
Any loves to, or at least they aspire to do new things all the
Yeah.
time. They're very open-minded people. So, but unfortunately, like I can't give them like a reference or something to read to see
Mhm.
that description, because every single time I look at things on the internet, it's always this thing where they're boring and like
Yeah.
routines and just schedules and crap, so
I want to update my descriptions, but I haven't gotten around to it because that's a big task.
no,
Like
yeah, no,
I don't
it's
want to
fine.
do that yet, but I do want to redo some of them, and I want to get more of like from the actual types experience, like I've talked about before. But yeah, I think that they are really so interesting and funny,
Mm-hmm.
and often quite quirky.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. It's like the SENI types are not really the quirkiest of people. Like even the ESFPs, like I know they're stereotypically like the entertainer type, but it's
Mhm.
like I actually think ENTPs are probably the more entertainer type. ESFPs are like
Yeah.
they're kind of pragmatic actually because they have TE.
Yeah.
It's a
ENTPs
combination of N E F A.
are often like the trickster character, and
Yeah.
they're a bit like a good way to describe them as opposed to ESTPs. They're much more like impish and playful than
Mm-mm.
ESTP.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And when I'm around one, I'm like, oh yeah, I can feel this difference.
Yeah, I mean, they're so creative with their words and the things that they say and the pranks that they pull. And I don't know, like, I don't know that I'm really, I like watching it, but I don't know that I